Commander Tessara pressed her six-fingered hands against the cold metal wall of her ship's bridge. The lights flickered above her head, casting strange shadows on the cracked ceiling. Outside the windows, she could see the stars moving too. Fast, her ship was running away from something terrible. The bridge smelled like fear and burned electronics. 3 of her crew members lay on the floor, not moving. The others worked at their stations with shaking hands. Her beautiful blue skin had turned pale gray with worry. "Commander," called out Navigation Officer Keithan from across the room. His voice cracked like breaking glass. "The Devourers are still following us. They are only 2 hours behind." Tessara closed her large black eyes and tried not to think about what that meant. The Devourers had already eaten 17 worlds. 17 entire planets, full of billions of people, all gone in just 3 years. The mechanical monsters turned everything they touched into more of themselves. They were like a disease that spread from star to star. Her home planet of Zephyria was gone now. She had watched it happen through her ship's cameras. First, the Devourers landed like metal rain. Then they started eating the cities, the forests, even the oceans. In just 6 days, her beautiful green world became a gray ball of machinery. Thy SS single quotes, Ara, was one of the lucky ones. She escaped with her diplomatic ship and 43 other survivors. But now, even they were being hunted. "How many ships do we have left in the Coalition fleet?" she asked. Communications Officer Valan looked up from her station. Her usually bright yellow eyes were now dim with sadness. 12 ships, Commander. That is all. Out of thousands." Tessara felt her heart sink lower in her chest. The Zephyrian Coalition had once been mighty. They ruled over 47 star systems. They had the best scientists, the most beautiful art, and the wisest leaders in their part of the galaxy. No. They had 12 broken ships running for their lives, Commander, Valan said quietly. "I've been thinking about the humans." "The humans?" Tessara turned to look at her communications officer. "What about them? They seem like good people, kind people." "Remember the messages they sent us last year?" Tessara did remember. The humans had only recently started talking to other species in the galaxy. They were new to space travel, barely. 50 years since they left their home planet Earth. Most species ignored them because they seemed so weak and backward. But the humans had sent the most beautiful things. They shared their music, which made everyone who heard it feel peaceful. They sent pictures of their art, colors, and shapes that no one had ever seen before. They even sent stories and poems that made the Coalition scholars cry with joy. The humans seemed to care about everything. They asked questions about Zephyrian families. They wanted to know about Coalition children and how they learned to fly their small ships. They even asked about pets and what kinds of animals lived on different worlds. "They care about other people," Valan continued. "Maybe they would help us. Maybe they would take our children to safety." Tessara thought about this. The humans did seem gentle and caring. In all their messages, they never talked about weapons or armies. They only wanted to share knowledge and friendship. They were probably the most peaceful species the Coalition had ever met. "But they are so far away," Tessara said. "And they are not strong. What could they do against the Devourers?" "Maybe they could give us shelter," said Keithan from his navigation station. "Maybe they have big ships that could carry our people to safety. Or maybe they have medicine to help our wounded." Tessara walked to the center of the bridge. Around her, the crew waited for her decision. These people trusted her to save them. Their families trusted her to save their children. The last free people of the Coalition were looking to her for hope. She thought about the human messages again. They had been so warm and friendly. The humans seemed to form emotional bonds with other species very quickly. Surely they would not let the Coalition die when they could help. "Valan," she said finally, "send a message to Earth. Tell them what has happened to us. Tell them about the Devourers and how many worlds we have lost. Ask them if they can help us." Valan's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "What kind of help should I ask for, Commander?" "Anything they can give us. Ships to carry our people. Places for our children to live. Medicine for our wounded. Food and water for our survivors." Tessara paused and looked out at the stars again. Tell them we are dying and we need their kindness. The message took several minutes to write. Valan read it back to make sure it was correct. It explained everything, how the Devourers worked, how many people had died, and how few ships were. Left it asked the humans to please help in any way they could. Should I mention that we can pay them? Asked Valan. We still have some rare metals and crystals on our ships? No, said Tessara. From what we know about humans, they will help us because it is the right thing to do. They do not seem to care much about money or treasure. Valan sent the message into space, toward the small yellow star where Earth orbited. It would take 3 days for the message to reach the humans, and 3 more days for their answer to come back. 6 days total. The Devourers would probably catch them in 4 days, but Tessara had to hope. Maybe the humans would surprise everyone. Maybe these peaceful, gentle people would find a way to help that no one had thought of. Maybe their kindness was stronger than anyone knew. Message sent, Commander, reported Valan. Now all they could do was wait and run and hope that somewhere in the darkness of space, help was coming. 3 days passed like a bad dream. Commander Tessara sat in her chair on the bridge, watching the stars move past her ship's windows. Her crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone was waiting for the human response. The Coalition's 12 ships stayed close together as they flew through space. They had to stop twice to fix broken engines and patch holes in their hulls. The Devourers were getting closer, but the machines seemed to be taking their time. Maybe they enjoyed hunting scared prey. Commander called out Communications Officer. Valan, her voice was shaky with excitement. I'm getting a signal from Earth. The humans have answered us. Tessara felt her heart beat faster. Finally, some good news. She stood up and walked to Valan's station. The rest of the crew stopped working and listened carefully. Play their message, Tessara ordered. The speakers crackled to life. A human voice came through, speaking in the Coalition's common language. The translator made the voice sound flat and emotionless, but Tessara could tell the human was trying to be helpful. Greetings, Commander Tessara and the Zephyrian Coalition.
We have received your message about the Devourer threat.
We understand that you need help. Earth has decided to respond to your situation. We will handle the Devourers. The message ended with a click. Tessara stared at the communication screen. That was it? Just for words about handling the Devourers? What about refugee ships? What about medicine and food? What about safe places for Coalition children to live? Play it again, she said. Valan played the message 3 more times. Each time, Tessara hoped she had missed something. But the message was the same. The humans said they would handle the Devourers, but they did not mention helping Coalition survivors at all. Maybe they are sending more messages, suggested Navigation Officer Keithan. Maybe they will explain their plan in the next transmission. Or maybe they do not understand how dangerous the Devourers are, said Science Officer Mortek from his station near the back of the bridge. Humans are new to space. They have never fought a real enemy before. Tessara nodded slowly. I thought. Had to be it. The humans were probably brave and wanted to help, but they did not know what they were facing. The Devourers had destroyed civilizations that were thousands of years older than humanity. These gentle Earth people with their music and poetry could not possibly understand the threat. 2 more days passed. Then Valan detected ships coming toward them through space. Commander, I am picking up multiple signals. Large ships, moving. Very fast. Are they Devourers? Asked Tessara, feeling cold fear in her stomach. Valan checked her instruments twice. No, Commander. The engine signatures are different, I think. I think they are human ships. Human ships. Confused. How many? 12. ... No. 15. No, 24 ships, Commander. They are big, much bigger than our ships. Tessara hurried to the main viewing screen. The distance, she could see tiny lights moving toward them. As the lights got closer, they turned into ships. But these were not the kind of ships she had expected. The human vessels were huge and angular, like giant metal blocks covered in weapons. They looked nothing like the peaceful exploration ships the Coalition had imagined. These ships were built for fighting, they were built for war. Are we sure those are human ships? Asked Keithon nervously. Before anyone could answer, Valin's communication board lit up with an incoming signal. Commander, someone wants to talk to us. Coming from the lead human ship? Put them through, Tessara said. The main screen flickered and showed the face of a human woman. She had short dark hair and serious eyes. She wore a uniform that looked military. Behind her, Tessara could see other humans working at stations, covered with weapons controls. Commander Tessara, the human woman said in a firm voice. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen, Terra Soul Shock Division. We have arrived to deal with your Devourer problem. Tessara felt even more confused. Terra Soul Shock Division? I was expecting to speak with your humanitarian coordinator. We need help moving our people to safety. Admiral Chen's expression did not change. That will not be necessary, Commander. We've reviewed your data about the Devourers. We know where they are and how they operate. Stand aside and let professionals handle this. Professionals, Tessara repeated. Admiral Chen, I think you do not understand. The Devourers have destroyed 47 worlds. They have killed billions of people. They cannot be stopped by fighting them. Commander Admiral, Chen said calmly, we have been studying your tactical reports for the past 3 days. Your people fought bravely, but you used defensive strategies. Humans prefer a more direct approach. Tessara looked around her bridge. Her crew was staring at the human admiral with wide eyes. This was not what any of them had expected. Humans were talking about fighting, not about rescue missions. Admiral Tessara said carefully, what about our survivors? We have thousands of people on these 12 ships. They need medical care, food, and safe places to live. Our children need. Your people will be safe once we remove the threat, Admiral Chen interrupted. We do not leave problems half-solved. Commander, the Devourers will not be a concern after we finish our operation. Admiral Chen looked at something off-screen, then back at Tessara. Commander, I need you to move your ships to these coordinates. Numbers appeared on Tessara's screen. Stay there until we signal that the area is secure. But Admiral, you need to evacuate our people first. The Devourers could, Commander, Admiral Chen said, and her voice was harder now. Move your ships to the safe zone. That is an order. The screen went dark. Tessara stood in silence for a long moment. Around her, the bridge was completely quiet. Finally, Valan spoke in a whisper. Commander, what kind of people did we call for help? Tessara did not have an answer. The humans had seemed so peaceful in their earlier messages. It shared art and music and stories about families. But the woman on the screen had looked like a soldier. Her ship had been full of weapons. She had talked about removing threats, not saving people. Kethan Tessara said quietly, set course for those coordinates. Do what the Admiral ordered. Yes, Commander. As their ships changed direction, Tessara watched the human fleet move past them toward the area where the Devourers were hunting. Human ships moved with purpose and speed. They did not look afraid at all. For the first time since sending their message to Earth, Tessara wondered if the Coalition had made a terrible mistake. They had asked for help from beings they thought were gentle and kind. But the humans who had come to answer their call looked like they were going to war, and they seemed happy about it. Commander Tessara watched the human ships disappear into the distance. Her 12 Coalition vessels waited at the coordinates Admiral Chen had given them. They were far enough away to be safe, but close enough to see what would happen next. Commander, said Science Officer Mortek, I am detecting the Devourers swarm ahead. They are in the Kepler 442 system, just like we reported. The machines are eating the 4th planet. Tessara nodded sadly. That planet had been home to 6 billion helix people just 1 week ago. That was probably nothing but gray metal and spinning gears. The human ships are approaching the system, reported Navigation Officer Keithan. They are moving very fast. Faster than any ships I have ever seen. Through her ship's powerful telescopes, Tessara could see the human fleet spreading out into attack formation. The ships moved like they had practiced this many times before. They knew exactly what they were doing. Are they really going to attack the Devourers? Asked Communications Officer Valen, just like that, without studying them. First, without trying to talk to them? The Devourers do not talk, Mortek said quietly. We tried for 3 years. They only eat and grow and spread. Tisara thought about all the battles the Coalition had fought against the machines. Every time, they had tried to save as many people as possible. They built defensive walls around their cities. They evacuated civilians to safe areas. They only fought when they had no other choice. But the humans were doing something different. They were not trying to protect anything. They were hunting. Commander Kethin said, "The human ships have stopped moving. They are just sitting there, about 1 hour away from the Devourers." "Maybe they are scared now," suggested Valen. "Maybe they finally understand how dangerous the Devourers are." 47 minutes passed. Tisara counted every second. The human ships stayed perfectly still, like metal statues in space. The Devourers continued eating the planet below them, not caring about the new arrivals. Then everything changed.
Oh.
Mortek shouted from his station. "The humans are firing." Tisara looked at her main screen and saw something she had never witnessed before. The human ships were not shooting normal laser beams or energy weapons. They were throwing huge pieces of metal through space at incredible speed. The metal projectiles moved so fast, they looked like streaks of light. When they hit the Devourer machines, the explosions were bigger than anything Tisara had ever seen. Entire Devourer constructs, some as large as cities, simply disappeared in flashes of white fire. "How is that possible?" whispered Keithan. But the humans were just getting started. As the Devourers began to react and fight back, the human ships did something that made Tisara's blood run cold. They moved closer. The Coalition had always tried to stay as far away from the Devourers as possible. The machines were fast and deadly up close. But the humans flew their ships right into the middle of the swarm, shooting in all directions. "They are insane," Mortek said, staring at his instruments. "No one fights like that. They are going to get themselves killed." "Look at their weapons," Valan said in amazement. "I am detecting energy signatures I have never seen before, and some kind of computer virus they are broadcasting. It is making the Devourers fight each other." Tisara watched as groups of Devourer machines suddenly turned on their own allies, tearing each other apart with mechanical claws and cutting beams. The humans had somehow turned the machine's own network against them. "How did they learn to do that so quickly?" she asked. "We studied the Devourers for 3 years and never found a way to break their communication system." Commander Mortek said, "I think the humans studied our data very carefully, but they used it differently than we did. We tried to understand the Devourers so we could avoid them. The humans studied them to find their weaknesses." More explosions lit up the space around the dying planet. The human ships moved through the Devourer swarm like wolves hunting sheep. They worked together perfectly, covering each other and sharing targets. When one human ship got damaged, 2 others immediately moved to protect it. Then, Tisara saw something that made her question everything she thought she knew about warfare. Several human ships opened up and released smaller vessels. These little ships flew directly at the Devourer constructs and attached to their hulls. "What are those small ships doing?" asked Keithan. I think there are humans inside them," Valen said, checking her sensors. "Life signs. They're boarding." "The Devourer machines. That is impossible," Mortek said. "No one can survive inside a Devourer construct. The machines fill their ships with poisonous gas and radiation, and they have internal defenses that will kill any intruder. But the humans were doing it anyway." Through her telescopes, Tisara could see explosions happening inside the Devourer machines. The humans were fighting the machines from the inside, destroying them piece by piece. "Commander," Valen said in a shaky voice, "I am picking up radio signals from inside the Devourer ships. It sounds like the humans are ... laughing." Tisara listened to the audio feed. She could hear human voices speaking quickly in their own language. The translator was having trouble keeping up, but she caught a few words. "Nice shot. Got another one. This is almost too easy." They were not screaming in fear or calling for help. They sounded like they were enjoying themselves. "How long has this battle been going on?" Tisara asked. Kethin checked his instruments. 18 minutes, Commander. 18 minutes. The Coalition had fought the Devourers for 3 years and lost 47 worlds. The humans had been fighting for 18 minutes and were winning. The devourer swarm that had seemed unstoppable was falling apart. The machines tried to adapt, changing their tactics and weapons. But every time they changed, the humans changed faster. It was like watching a chess game where one player could see 20 moves ahead. Commander Mortek said quietly, "I do not think these humans are the same species that sent us poetry and music." "They are the same species," Tisera said slowly. "That is what makes this so frightening." She watched as another group of devourer machines exploded under human fire. The humans were not just destroying the enemy. They were taking the machines apart, studying them, and then using improved versions of their own weapons against them. When the devourers tried to send a distress signal to other swarms, the humans jammed their communications. When the machines tried to escape, the humans were already waiting for them. When the devourers attempted to use their most powerful weapons, the humans had defenses ready. They planned all of this, Tisera realized. In those 47 minutes when they stopped moving, they were not afraid. They were studying the enemy and making a battle plan. The battle was not just efficient, it was artistic. The humans moved their ships like dancers, flowing around each other without ever colliding. They attacked from multiple directions at once, confusing the machines. They used the devourer's own tactics against them, and through it all, the humans never lost a single ship. Commander Valan said, "I am getting a transmission from Admiral Chen." "Put her through." Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, Tisera could see humans working calmly at their stations. No one looked worried or scared. It looked like they were doing routine maintenance. "Commander Tisera," Admiral Chen said, "we have eliminated 60% of the devourer force. Estimated time to complete victory is 4 hours. Please remain at your current position until we signal all clear." Admiral Tisera said, "How are you doing this?" "The devourers destroyed our entire civilization." Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since Tisera had met her. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not entirely kind either. "Commander, you fought to survive. We fight to win. There is a difference." The transmission ended, and Tisera was left staring at her own reflection in the dark screen. Around her, the bridge was silent, except for the sound of breathing. Finally, Valan spoke in a whisper. "Commander, what have we done? What kind of monsters did we ask for help?" Tisera thought about the human music they had shared, so beautiful. It made people cry. She thought about their stories of families and love and hope, and she looked at the battle raging in the distance, where those same humans were tearing apart the machines that had terrorized the galaxy. "I do not think they are monsters," she said quietly. "I think they are something much worse. I think they are the people who destroy monsters." The devourer machines tried everything they could think of. They sent their fastest ships to escape and warn other swarms. The humans caught them all. They activated hidden weapons that had destroyed coalition fleets. Humans turned those weapons back on their creators. They even tried to adapt their technology in real time, learning from each human attack. The humans learned faster. Commander Tisera sat in her command chair, watching the systematic destruction of her people's greatest nightmare. What should have been impossible was happening before her eyes. The devourers were losing. "Commander, Science Officer," Mortek called out, his voice full of wonder and fear. "The humans are doing something new. They are taking apart the devourer command ships piece by piece while they are still fighting." On the main screen, Tisera could see human boarding parties working inside a massive devourer construct. The machine was still trying to fight other human ships, but from the inside, the humans were cutting out its brain. They worked with tools and weapons that seemed to cut through anything. "How long until they finish?" asked Communications Officer Valan. "At this rate," Mortek said, checking his calculations twice, maybe 6 more hours. "The devourers are trying to regroup, but the humans are not giving them time to think. 6 hours. The coalition had fought for 3 years and lost everything. The humans would be done in less than 1 day." Navigation Officer Keithan was monitoring human communications. "Commander, I am listening to their radio chatter. They are talking about something called acceptable losses and casualty reports. Tisera felt her heart sink. She had been hoping the humans were somehow immune to devourer weapons, but that was foolish thinking. Of course they were taking losses. Even humans could not be completely invincible. "How many ships have they lost?" she asked. Kethin listened for a few more minutes, then looked up with confusion on his face. "Commander, I think they're casualty. Report is about damaged equipment, not lost ships. They are complaining that one of their weapons overheated and needs to be fixed." "What about human deaths?" I have not heard any reports of human deaths, Commander." Tisera stared at him. "They cannot be right. Check again." Kethin went back to his instruments and listened carefully to the human communications. He translated everything he could understand. After 20 minutes, he looked up again. "Commander, they have lost 0 ships, 0 pilots, 0 soldiers. They have some damaged weapons and 1 ship that needs its hull repaired, but no one has died." "That is impossible," whispered Valen. But as the hours passed, it became clear that Kethon was right. The humans were not just winning the battle, they were winning without any real cost to themselves. When their weapons broke, they fixed them quickly. When their ships got damaged, other ships covered them while they made repairs. When devourer machines tried to ram human vessels, the humans simply moved out of the way. It was like watching a professional exterminator deal with insects. The insects might bite and sting, but they were never really a threat to the person. With the right tools and knowledge, Commander Mortek said, the humans are using some kind of new weapon now. Looks like they are shooting the devourers with their own technology. Tisera looked at her screen and saw human ships firing beams that looked exactly like devourer cutting lasers. But these beams were stronger and more precise than anything the machines had ever used. They reverse-engineered devourer weapons. "During the battle?" she asked in disbelief. "It appears so, Commander, and they improved them." This was beyond anything Tisera had imagined possible. The humans were not just fighting the devourers. They were studying them, learning from them, and using their own technology against them, all at the same time. It was like they were conducting a science experiment instead of fighting for their lives. The most disturbing part was how calm the humans sounded on their radio channels. Tisera had heard coalition pilots during battle, screaming orders and warnings, crying out when friends were hurt. The human voices were steady and professional, like they were discussing the weather. "Target acquired. Firing main cannon.
Nice shot, Sarah. Clean kill."
"Third boarding party, you have new toys to play with in Section C. Copy that." "These things have interesting tech. Command will want to see this." They talked about destroying galaxy-threatening machines, the same way coalition farmers talked about harvesting crops. Then Tisera heard something that made her blood freeze in her veins. "Hey, Rodriguez, bet you 10 credits I can take out that command ship with just the secondary weapons." "You're on, Chen, but if you miss, you buy drinks for the whole squad. Deal, watch this." The humans were making bets on their ability to destroy devour vessels. They were turning the battle into a game. Commander Valen said quietly, "Should we be afraid of the humans?" Before Tisera could answer, her communication board lit up with an incoming message. It was Admiral Chen again. "Commander Tisera, we have an update on our progress. We've eliminated 95% of the devourer force in this system. We estimate complete victory within 2 hours." Admiral Tisera said, "Your people are incredible. You are defeating an enemy that destroyed our entire civilization. How many casualties have you taken?" "Casualties?" Admiral Chen looked confused for a moment. "Oh, you mean losses?" "We've had some equipment damage, but nothing serious." "Lieutenant Murphy sprained his ankle when his boarding pod landed hard, but he is still fighting." "No deaths? No destroyed ships?" "Of course not, Commander. This is a standard pest control operation. We train for much harder scenarios than this." Admiral Chen paused and looked at something off-screen. When she turned back, there was something like excitement in her eyes. "Commander, we have discovered something interesting. The Devourers have been using a central command network to coordinate their attacks across the galaxy. We have located their main control node, their central command." Tisera felt hope and terror at the same time. "If you could destroy that, maybe you could stop all the Devourers everywhere. Destroy it." Admiral Chen smiled, and Tessara realized she had misunderstood something important. Commander, we are not going to destroy it. We are going to capture it. My technical teams want to study how the Devourers built their network, and my tactical teams want to use it. Use it for what? To find every Devourer swarm in the galaxy and eliminate them all. The communication ended, leaving Tessara staring at a blank screen. Around her, the bridge was completely silent. Finally, Mortex spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. Commander, the humans are not just destroying the Devourers in this system. They're planning to hunt down every single machine in the entire galaxy. That would take years, Keithon said. Maybe decades. I do not think the humans care how long it takes, Valen added. Did you see Admiral Chen's face when she talked about using the Devourer network? She looked happy. Tessara thought about everything she had witnessed. The humans had not come to rescue Coalition survivors. They had not come to provide medical aid or refugee ships. They had come to completely solve the Devourer problem, and they were treating it like an interesting puzzle that needed to be solved correctly. Commander Mortex said, "What kind of species treats galaxy-wide extinction threats as routine maintenance?" Tessara looked out at the dying Devourer swarm, where human ships were methodically finishing off the last few machines. She thought about the human messages full of poetry and music and love. She thought about Admiral Chen talking about pest control operations and training exercises. The kind of species, she said slowly, that considers this easy. In the distance, the last Devourer construct exploded in a flash of white light. The battle was over. Humans had won completely, perfectly, and without losing a single life. And they were just getting started. The last Devourer machine died with a flash of light and twisted metal. Commander Tessara watched the explosion fade from her ship's viewing screen. After 18 hours of watching the impossible happen, the battle was finally over. The human fleet hung in space, where the Devourer's swarm used to be. Their ships looked exactly the same as when they had arrived. No holes in their hulls, no missing vessels, no emergency signals calling for help. They had destroyed a threat that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 years, and they looked like they had just finished a training exercise. Commander Communications Officer Valan said softly, "Admiral Chen is requesting permission to come aboard our ship. She wants to talk to you in person." Sierra felt nervous. She had been watching these humans fight for almost a full day, and she still did not understand what kind of people they really were. They seemed to care about other species, but they also destroyed their enemies with frightening efficiency. "Tell the Admiral she is welcome aboard," Tessara said 20 minutes later. Admiral Chen walked onto the bridge of Tessara's ship. She was smaller than Tessara had expected, and she moved with quiet confidence. Behind her came to other humans wearing the same military uniforms. But instead of weapons, they carried boxes and bags. "Commander Tessara," Admiral Chen said with a warm smile, "it is good to finally meet you face to face. I brought some things for your people." She nodded to the humans behind her, and they began opening their containers. Inside were medical supplies, food packages, and small devices that Tessara did not recognize. "These are emergency medical kits designed for Zephyrian biology," Admiral Chen explained. "Our scientists studied your people's medical records and made supplies that will work for your species. The food is also safe for you too. Eat, and those small devices are translators and communication equipment." Tessara stared at the supplies. "When did you have time to make these things? You have been fighting the Devourers for the past day?" "We started making them as soon as we received your first message," Admiral Chen said. "We knew you would need help with your injured and displaced people. Fighting was only part of our response." "Only part?" Admiral Chen walked to the viewing screen and looked out at space. "Commander, may I ask you something? What did you think we were going to do when you called Earth for help?" Tessara felt embarrassed. "We thought you would send refugee ships, maybe medical personnel. We hoped you would take our children to safety while we tried to fight the Devourers. You thought we would run away and hide your people while the machines continued to spread." "Across the galaxy?" "Yes," Tessara admitted. "We thought that was the best anyone could do." Admiral Chen turned back to face her. "Commander, humans do not run away from problems. We solve them. When someone hurts our friends, we stop them from hurting anyone else ever again. Your friends. You shared your art with us, your music. Your stories about your families and children. You've told us about your culture and dreams. Admiral Chen's voice became softer. You made us care about you. It makes you our friends. And humans protect their friends? Tisara felt something warm in her chest. But the way you fight, it is so efficient, so cold. You destroyed the Devourers like they were nothing. The Devourers were causing suffering, Admiral Chen said. Simply, they killed billions of people. They destroyed beautiful worlds, so we removed them. What is cold about that? Science Officer Mortek stepped forward nervously. Admiral, we watched your people during the battle. They seemed to enjoy fighting. They were making jokes and bets while destroying the machines. Admiral Chen smiled. Of course they were. My people are very good at what they do, and they know it. When you are skilled at solving problems, even dangerous problems become interesting challenges. But you could have been killed, Valen said. Could we? Admiral Chen asked. Commander, do you know how humans train for combat? We practice against enemies much more dangerous than the Devourers. We simulate battles against opponents with better technology, better tactics, and better weapons than anything we face today. She paused and looked around the bridge. The Devourers were predictable. They used the same strategies against every enemy. They never adapted quickly enough. Fighting them was like playing a game we had already won and training 100 times. Tisara shook her head in confusion. If this was easy for you, why did you bring such a large fleet? Why did you use so many ships? Because we do not take chances with our friends' lives, Admiral Chen said firmly. We brought enough force to guarantee victory. We brought enough medical supplies to help every survivor. We brought enough transport ships to evacuate your entire population if necessary. She walked to a control panel and pressed some buttons. The main screen showed the human fleet. But now, Tisara could see that many of the ships were not warships at all. They were hospital ships, supply vessels, and passenger transports. We came prepared for every possibility, Admiral Chen continued. If the Devourers had been stronger, we would have fought harder. If your people had needed evacuation, we would have taken you to safe worlds. If you had needed new homes, we would have helped you build them. All of this for people you barely know? Asked Navigation Officer Keithan. You are not strangers, Admiral Chen said. You've sent us your music? Do you know what happened when our people heard Zephyrian songs for the first time? Our children learned to sing them. Our artists created new paintings inspired by your poetry. Your stories made our families cry. She smiled again, and this time it reached her eyes. You shared the best parts of yourselves with us. That made you part of our extended human family. And humans take care of family. Tisara felt tears beginning to form in her large black eyes. We called you for help because we thought you were gentle and peaceful. We are gentle and peaceful, Admiral Chen said, with our friends, people who need protection. With anyone who approaches us with kindness, her expression became more serious. But we are not gentle with things that hurt our family. So this is how humans show kindness, Mortek asked. By completely destroying threats. This is how humans solve problems, Admiral Chen corrected. We do not patch wounds and hope they heal. We remove the infection completely. The Devourers were an infection in the galaxy. Now they are gone. She walked back to the viewing screen and pointed at her fleet. Commander, my people are already scanning for other Devourer swarms. We will hunt down every single machine until none are left. That is our gift to the galaxy.
Oh no.
No one will ever have to fear the Devourers again. What about the Coalition survivors? Tisara asked. What about our people? What would you like to happen to them? Admiral Chen asked. We can take them to safe worlds. We can help them rebuild their civilization and give them new technology to defend themselves. Or they can come live near human space, where we can make sure nothing ever threatens them again. Tisara looked around her bridge at her crew. They were all staring at Admiral Chen with expressions of wonder and gratitude. Admiral Tisara said, Slowly, when we first met you, we thought you had misunderstood our call for help. Did we? No, Tisara said, and for the first time in months, she smiled. You understood perfectly. We asked for help, and you helped us in the most complete way possible. Admiral Chen nodded. That is what friends do for each other, Commander? They solve each other's problems. As the human admiral prepared to leave, she stopped at the bridge entrance. "Commander, one more thing. My government wanted me to give you this." She handed Tisara a small device. When Tisara activated it, it projected a message from Earth. Hundreds of human children appeared on the screen, singing a Zephyrian song in perfect harmony. Behind them were human adults holding signs that said, "Welcome to the Galactic Family" in Coalition script. "They had been practicing that song since we received your first message," Admiral Chen said. "They wanted to make sure they got it right." As the human admiral walked away, Tisara realized that she finally understood what kind of species humanity really was. They were the people who sang lullabies to other species' children and destroyed galaxy-threatening monsters with equal skill. They were the ones who shared poetry and art, then used that same creativity to solve impossible problems. The Coalition had called Earth for aid and received exactly what they needed. Not just rescue, but complete and permanent safety. They had met humanity's shock troops and learned that human kindness came with the promise that nothing would ever hurt their friends again. In the distance, human ships were already beginning their hunt for the remaining devourers. The galaxy would be safe soon, and it would stay safe as long as humans were watching.